You are listening to Be the Change, a podcast of conversations with true visionaries who are creating new paradigms for a healthier planet and society. I am your host, Christine Dimick, and my work is in finding real solutions to the biggest problems we face today: climate crisis, capitalism, social injustices, and our failing health. There are amazing humans out there that have answers, and it is my mission to have their voices heard. Together, we can raise consciousness and create a just and equal society. Together, we can be the change. Just over 3 years ago, retired Minnesota correctional officer Antonio Espinosa had to make a decision. The kind of decision one may only make once in a lifetime. His beloved best friend and partner had just been murdered by an inmate at the prison they both worked at. Antonio was faced with choosing hope or hate. He chose hope and art. With nothing but the drive to be the change and help others, Antonio brought in educational and cultural events to the staff and inmates of his former workplace, and then a program to showcase the artwork of those incarcerated. Art from the inside was born. As Antonio says, I'm just one person trying to make a change in our system. I want to help transform these men and help the community heal after the killing of my friend and fellow correctional officer, Joseph Gomm. Art just happened to be the vehicle that brought us together to have these difficult conversations. Welcome, Antonio, and thank you for being the change.
Thank you for having me on, Christine.
You're welcome. I see you smiling. What are you smiling about?
I just love the introduction, and I love your program's name, Be the Change, so it has a lot to do with me and everybody in this world,
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you. And I want to tell you, last night I was prepping for a conversation, all right? And I heard this quote that a woman, I was at a Zoom, and she had said, this quote by Václav Havel. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. He's a former president of Czechoslovakia. Interesting. And I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, hope is an orientation of the heart. And I immediately got up. I was laying down and I wrote that down because I thought that is exactly what you did when you were faced with your grief and anger and probably a lot of hate. So I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, if you can take us back to that time you were faced with this decision and how you oriented your heart to hope.
Yeah. Wow. It's went on 2018. I was on vacation and my friend was at work, and that evening turned on the television for the news and got to hear that a correctional officer at Stillwater Prison was fatally wounded. And it was Joseph Gomm. I was like, wow, it hit home, like this is the first time this ever happened in the state of Minnesota, where I work at too. And it hit me hard, so I was calling in to see if I could go to work and to help out in any kind of form, shape, or way. And they said that they wanted to have everyone to come in the next day so we could have some grieving and have some unity within our staff and members. And that's what I did. I was listening to everyone's, arguing and being angry, and everyone's fault, blaming each other for certain things. And I was like, I didn't want to fall into that trap. I was angry, but I didn't want to move with that feeling, because 1,600 other men are going to feel the brunt of what happened, you know what I'm saying? Because of one person's actions. And we still have a job to do, that, we still have 1,600 other people that we have to serve and try to help them through their journey through incarceration and transformation in their lives, so that when they come out of prison, they're better people, It just wasn't what I was expecting. And so I channeled all my anger into something positive, to try to do something positive to honor my friend's death and to try to create a bridge between the staff and the incarcerated people in the state of Minnesota, our community, how to bridge, how to, instead of being divided and bringing up walls, how can we learn from this experience, honor our friend, and do something outside of the box that we've been doing all along and it hasn't been working. We have to start thinking different ways how to serve people, to find the transformation in them, try to find the humanity in people, to try to help them through their process of healing. And I used art. I used their art as the vehicle of the uncomfortable conversations of incarceration, like how you stated.
That's just incredible. It's like you downloaded this information. And I mean, there could have been many ways. It could have been a traditional way. It would have been to call in maybe a therapist, or, it could have been group counseling. It could, many things, music, anything. What made you choose art?
Okay, so everyone loves art and everyone appreciates artists and everyone appreciates the art that they do. Throughout the 19 and a half years that I worked there, every time I'm in a different unit or whatever, I'm doing my rounds, I'm seeing people doing beading, I'm seeing people doing art, pencil, pen drawings. And I'm amazed of how these incarcerated people have these talents, knowing that if they had a better choice of what they did to get them in the situation that they are in, that they would be successful in society, given the opportunities, And so throughout this process, I went to church and our pastor gave a powerful sermon, and it was specifically for me. And I was having this conversation with my higher power, and he was telling me, he was directing me, he was giving me steps to do something. And I wasn't sure what it was, but I found that art was going to be the piece where I could take it from inside the prison and take it outside of the prison walls and take it to our community and display it and have these conversations about incarcerated art. And people thought that the art was mine, but we had posters and diagrams of what this project was all about. And people started getting engaged and knowing more about incarceration and knowing more about the art and the art project and how can we help incarcerated people. And I started seeing the humanity in people about incarceration. And it just it stems like a tree, from one thing to another, from community people to victims wanting to have these conversations. That's why I call it uncomfortable conversations about incarceration. I was part of an uncomfortable conversation of incarceration because my friend was murdered there. So I'm a victim of incarceration. And like I said, I just use their art to have these, conversations with community people, churches, legislators, whoever I could get to try to create a change. You need to change the way how we do things. We have to do a paradigm shifting in whatever we've been doing, because this pandemic is telling us that we have to change the way how we used to do things, because now we have to be more creative and think of how to be that change. And I believe that, the steps were given to me by my father, and I'm still working on it.
It's amazing, because what I hear you say is that it was art from the inside. So it was those who were incarcerated who were creating the art. But it sounds like not only did they receive a healing from it, but those who viewed the art, those who were on the outside, also received a healing from that. Is that right?
Oh, definitely. Most definitely. There's one of the artists who's still incarcerated. And one of his statements was that if you like my art, you don't see me as the monster that you portray me to be. And I don't see you as the person that hates me like that. You know what I'm saying? So if you like my art, you must like something about me, because, we are all human and we all make mistakes. And I feel like we're all criminals because we all have done something that we never got caught or will get caught or whatever. But these people have unfortunately did things that got them to the situations where they're at. And we have to try to find a way to find the humanity within people, find the humanity within ourselves to help others, not wait until something happens to one of your loved ones or a friend or whatever to react. We should be reacting now to try to help people who need the help.
That's right. I've shared with you, I have an uncle who has been incarcerated multiple times. And it comes out, it's in anger. And the second time, he was assaulting a police officer, which, you can't do, obviously, but it's that anger, that uncontrollable anger. Now I think about if he had some training or work or a way to deal with his feelings that, he wouldn't have fallen into that. And it just is like this default, and here, I also wrote this down. This came to me, Antonio, was that in looking at it, you've given a voice to the voiceless. And what we often do is someone makes a mistake, right? Put them in prison and that's it. And then they're just forgotten, right?
Yes.
And not cared for. And this art allowing those incarcerated to have this voice. And I urge everyone, if you go to the website, it's artfromtheinside.mn.org. MN is for Minnesota. So artfromtheinside.mn.org. You can click on the artwork and read the stories and the inspiration behind the artwork. And this morning, I found one, which was a necklace, and it was a peregrine falcon by a human whose name is LL. And I was struck, first of all, that it was a peregrine falcon, which is a fierce hunter, but also a bird that is flying. And it was a beautiful metaphor. And LL, you ask, what role does art play in your life? And they said, art is an escape from in here. And what inspires you to create? And they said, I'm inspired to create art and to try and make my mom happy. Right?
Yeah.
And then the transformation statement that they wrote was, transformation to me means changing who you are because of your life experiences. I have transformed into a person I never thought I would have to. The hopeful thing about transformation is that no matter what you become, you can always transform into something else. What a beautiful, incredibly insightful quote there that LL had. And it's not just LL. It's, if you go and you read, it's all of the artists are having some sort of transformation. I'm going to ask you, what unexpected transformation did you receive by starting Art from the Inside, Antonio?
When I first started working there in 2002, it was a job for me. But then, as time went by, I was learning the industry. I was learning my purpose there at the job. And I always said that, work without purpose is dead. You know what I'm saying? If you don't have no purpose when you go to work to do something to help somebody else out, then you're just doing it for money or whatever, to survive. But my purpose came when all of this really started with Gomm. And prior to that, I was doing stuff that was trying to help the incarcerated people by bringing outside community leaders into the institution and talk about cultures and stuff like that, like Black History Month, Native American Month, stuff like that. And the men, they were loving it, and they were understanding more about themselves and other people's culture. When it comes down to my transformation, to what I'm doing is I'm learning about myself more, about who I am and my purpose in life and why I'm here and why God moved me from New York, the South Bronx, to the Midwest, and for all this to happen, for me to this conversation with you today about, transformation within the incarcerated people in Minnesota and throughout the whole nation. I think that we all need some sort of transformation in our lives, not just incarcerated people, but, all of us need to figure out our purpose and work towards it, or find something that will bring some satisfaction in your life to help somebody else out, not for ourselves. I'm hoping that a lot of the stuff that I'm doing, that it's generating some hope in people's lives, and maybe I will never see it, but I know that I try to do something positive to help other people, try to create this vision for the people who want to become correctional officers and police officers, that we're public servants, we're here to serve the public and not to hurt the public, but we're here to help people, saying? Mm-hmm. And I see myself being that person to try to help others, and especially those who are in prison. There are people, they have done stuff to get themselves in the situation where they're at, but they still can do positive things while they're in prison, and their transformation from prison to community. And then while they're in the community, to still help them try to find their way through incarceration because it's such a hard place. You know, once you leave prison, you're still like in prison because you can't get a job, you can't find a place to live. You know,
that's right.
Like I said, it's like a tree. It has so much.
That's right. Oh, there's so much I want to unpack here and go into. The one thing I will tell you that what transformed me by meeting you and reading and seeing this art was understanding and bringing the humanity to it and my own views of an incarcerated person and how I see that. And you and I have also had a conversation before that if it's not just our own dumb luck that we didn't either one, get caught, or two, end up in our own incarcerated place. But there's many things that I have done, I know personally, that could have put me in there, but I didn't get caught. And then I learned. But a kid could do something just as silly as take their parents' car out for a joyride. And what could separate that human from having a life in prison or not could be one, their color, it could be their situation, their wealth, right? The amount of money they have, neighborhood, all sorts of things that are, socioeconomic things that we're born into. And so by seeing that and reading the words, it really made me understand. But to grow up in this sheltered world, and then they have this view of what being incarcerated is and not knowing anyone and not understanding that. And this really bridged that gap for me, Antonio. And what I'm saying is so people can change their mind and see the humanity in others. There's ways to heal people who are incarcerated, that they have words to say. They are human beings that just took a different path.
I think also redemption is huge in the conversation. Giving people an opportunity to redeem themselves and try to do good and show that they learn from their mistakes and want to do something to help others and be successful leaders and community members of our society. But we have to be that change. We have to be group of people that want to give these people that opportunity to prove themselves.
Yeah. Allowing people, forgiving people. Gosh, we don't do a lot of that, do we?
No, I think that society looks at, when you do something wrong is, okay, you did something wrong, you should be thrown in prison and we'll forget about you. And then we'll make it even harder for you when you get out, if you get out, where you can't vote, you can't find a job, you can't live with your spouse because they live in a certain area or whatever. I think that we need to change laws and we need to make some adjustments with the way how we live as human beings in this society, in this United States, to be better people and try to help people instead of condemning people for the rest of their lives.
That's right. Because we've all done something. We've all done something that we've been ashamed of. And it's not to take away, from people who have been harmed by others. But my goodness, what are we if we don't evolve? If we keep playing this and keep, because it's not helping, obviously, right?
It's not helping and it's not changing anything.
Nope.
We're just repeating everything. Look at, how we are today with voting rights and everything else. It's like history repeating itself.
That's right.
And we need to be better people to each other and instead of fighting, and let's just try to find solutions to help each other instead of you're wrong and I'm right and I'm better than you and this group is worse than mine. And
it also makes me think too, Antonio, that the wrong people are the ones being incarcerated, possibly, right? When you look at this, that's a crime against humanity to take away voting rights. That's a crime against humanity, right?
We should all have the right. We all created equal, aren't we? We're supposed to be. We all Americans. A person that's incarcerated doesn't mean that you're not American. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And how are we going to help the American people to strive to be better? All of us.
Yeah. And for those lawmakers who are doing right now, underhanding and changing those laws to prevent people from voting, that's a crime against humanity. What are they doing? What punishment do they receive? And it's nothing. And it has to change. I have hope for that. You
mentioned before is your position, money, power. It gives you the opportunities to do what you do. Saying if you're not in that class of people or statute, you are down here and you're worthless.
That's right. There's a beautiful book by Isabel Wilkerson, and it's called Caste. And she goes into it, talking about it. And it's not just the racism of this country, but it's the caste system that was created. And that's what's happening right now that we're seeing in politics when people are trying to take voting rights and, why those incarcerated can't vote. It's from the top of the caste system. They don't want to step down. So if you think you're sitting there and I don't know, in your house and, you're middle class and you're white and you think that you have some sort of privilege or something, you do have privilege, but boy, you're not running the country. Trust me, there's about 5 people right now who's running our country and they don't want to ever step down, ever. And so they're making those laws so all of us stay in our places. That's what that's about, in my opinion. But all right. So I digress. Antonio, you went in there to transform, and I don't think that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you walked in there and it was just like, hey guys, we're going to make art and we're going to start healing. And that's how everything's going to be. I imagine you got some pushback. I want to thank everyone that it was just like walking in and you brought some pencils and pens and paper and said, let's get started, right? Tell me about that.
The art was created there already. It was there. They do it every day in their cells and everything else. The idea of using art for healing and using the art as a vehicle to have conversations about how we could help each other through healing and learning about how to transform our feelings and our way of thinking, that's all that I started to see, you know what I'm saying? And yes, I did get pushback. I got pushback from the people I worked with, my coworkers. I was too friendly with the offenders. I was too nice to them. I wasn't the person that was supposed to be rigid. And well, I was when I had to be, but when I didn't have to be, I was very kind and helpful and giving to these folks. I feel that, it doesn't hurt me to be nice and kind to you, and maybe you may be nice and kind to me, you know what I'm saying? In a very dark area of life, where people are incarcerated in isolation and depression and mental illness, we need to try to figure out a different way how to approach people. And my way was to approach them in a humane way. I went through my addictions when I was growing up, and I've been through my trials and tribulations, you know what I'm saying, that gave me the understanding of why I was there. And this is my opportunity to do something totally different where others has helped me in my journey in life. Why can I not use what I have myself to help other people? And a lot of people that I worked with didn't see that. And it was hard, but I fought through it. I had to deal with the talks behind my back and the direct quotes and everything else. But today, I'm retired and I'm still working, helping these incarcerated folks on the outside, and I'm still working and helping them on the inside.
Were any of the correctional officers transformed by it? Were you able to see any of them maybe see your way?
I believe that there's a lot of people in corrections as guards that are kind people, and peer pressure, keeps you aligned to what you're supposed to do, where you're supposed to be. Don't cross that line.
That brotherhood, right?
Yeah, we're guards and they're the enemy, you know what I'm saying? And I think that we are all together in the same space to help each other. As much as I help them, I've learned from them. I learned that they are teachers. They could help others within the institutions and outside of it. You know what I'm saying? They possess so much goodness than what we perceive it to be mean. People who are incarcerated are people, and they have feelings and they go through things, and we go through things too. And sometimes, you try to do something and you don't know how to express yourself. And the first thing that we all go for is anger and to hurt people. And there you go, and you did something wrong. Or you're going outside and you're having a party and you're drinking and driving and you kill someone by accident. There you go. Or you're a cop and you shot someone by accident. There you go. We all go through different things in our lives. Should we condemn these people all for the rest of their lives? I don't think so. I think that we should give them a chance for redemption. I think that we should try to find healing within that process. I think that we need to be kinder to each other.
Yeah, agree. Well, Antonio, where are you at now? You mentioned you're retired. And where are you with the art from the inside? Like, what's going on? What new projects are you working on? How can we help?
Oh, okay. Well, through my years of working in corrections, I was able to apply for a Bush Fellowship. And I was named with 23 other people, 2021 Bush Fellow, which these people see goodness in me to try to create large-scale change. And so they invested in me to try to create change. Like I said, I love your title of your podcast, Be the Change. What change is being that rock and you throw it into the water and having a ripple effect, because I'm not going to be able to do the whole entire change, but I'm going to need so many different people throughout my journey to create this change in one small little area. And so Bush is investing in me, and I am working on my second exhibition with their art. We are in a museum in Minnesota, first time ever in a museum, their art. The museum is called Museum of American Art. We're also going to be having something in March with the Museum of the Weizmann Museum. That's in the University of Minnesota. And I'm going to get in front of people to test them, to push them, to try to influence people for change. We need to try to figure out where we're at in our society and how can we do better. You know what I'm saying? How can the wardens do better? How can the commissioner do better? How can we as community people do better? You know what I'm saying? How the mayors could do better for our communities. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be in front of people. I'm doing art shows. Some of these shows, the proceeds go to the men. And we're working on trying to do a 10% sale to show reciprocity. And we're working with a children's hospital to see if we could give money to the children's hospital from the incarcerated people through this process to show that incarcerated people have a heart and they want to help the children of Minnesota.
So the proceeds from, because I noticed on your website, you can buy art, right? Like there is pricing, so you can buy it. The necklace that I was speaking of was beautiful, $400, right? And that art, does that money go to LL?
Yes. And it was not $400. I'm sorry. It was $800. And that piece was bought from a former warden who came to one of the shows and was impressed by the piece, that he bought that piece.
Okay. So the former warden bought that piece, but the money then goes into, was a savings account for LL? So when LL gets out, or does LL have that ability to give it to his family, or?
LL has the ability to do whatever he wants with it. Once the exhibition is over with, then this money is going to be dispersed into the institutions, into their account. So, then they'll have the opportunity to send that money out to their family or whatever they want to do with it. But it's a way for them to see that they have worth.
That's amazing. So they don't have to wait until they get out.
No.
And it's not like it's taken I mean, most people, if you don't know, watch The 13th, like it's on Netflix. Like if you haven't seen it yet, go watch it, right? But understand that the system of incarceration is one step. It started right after slavery, and then it was a way to incarcerate persons, to keep them enslaved, and to use cheap labor. I mean, go watch The 13th and understand that. But what I'm trying to get to now is that most of those who are incarcerated are working every day. They're doing things. They're making your bras. And they're getting paid 10 cents a day, like something ridiculous. And people like Victoria's Secret are making a fortune off of it. So this excites me. So LL got this $800.
Well, he will be getting it once the show is over with and then the money is dispersed. The reason why I think that this is also a great opportunity, because when my friend Officer Gomm was murdered, he was murdered in industry area where they had different trades for these men to learn,
like wood shop in high school,
and metal and all kind of different things. And he was murdered with a hammer, and so they took away all these different opportunities for the rest of the population, and they haven't been able to
bring it back.
Really going back. Like I said, this stems like a big tree. So this is like another way for them to try to earn a dollar through showing their art, talking about themselves, giving them a platform, trying to be the bridge between community and incarceration, trying to show people the humanity in people and how we could help others.
Yeah, I just think it's wonderful. And it's a way to have income. And also so many who are incarcerated get out. They have no place to stay. They have no place to go to, no home, nothing. And this is allowing to have at least some cash in pocket, to also to have a sense of self-worth, like you said, to be able to provide for family while they're inside doing that time.
Yes.
It's just incredible. Incredible. And so you're saying you want 10% is also going to go to charity for charitable contribution.
Exactly. Just the same way how they're getting all this, attention, and they're getting the opportunity to make $1 off of their craft, that they also are in the position of helping somebody else who needs help, you know what I'm saying? And they need to learn reciprocity. They need to learn how to give back the same way how people are giving to them. They need to learn how to give back to society and to their family members. And that's what we all need to do, is just try to learn the basics about who we are and the basics of life and the basics of when someone's down. Do you turn your back and walk away? Do you see an elderly person who falls down and you walk right by her and don't help her up? No, you help that person up. You know what I'm saying? Right. Regardless,
because you go through this when anyone who's raising kids sees this, and, you go through this and it's like, well, why should I do that? And it's like, if anything, you do it for yourself. You do it for yourself as a human, because it's just be a different world. Imagine if our CEOs really looked at it and said, Jeff Bezos says, you know what? This is ridiculous. Like, I'm a multi-billionaire over. Instead of like flying a rocket, like maybe I'm actually going to give back to the community and start paying fair wages, and have a system for those who are incarcerated to come out and work for Amazon. I don't know. There's many ways of looking at it. I don't know, Antonio, but we got to keep trying, right?
Yeah. And that's why I've always called it the uncomfortable conversations, because it's an uncomfortable conversation to talk about incarceration, how to help people, give of yourself and not expect nothing back. It's just uncomfortable. And we all expect something in return. And, I believe that my gold or whatever I'm supposed to get will come to me when it's supposed to come to me. It might not come to me on this earth. It might come to me in a different way, some other time, some other place.
Yeah, that's right. Amen. So we've come to the end of the show, and I normally ask what keeps you going and keeps you being the change, but I want to switch it up because, Antonio, I think that I want people to understand and listeners to hear is how they can be the change. So if someone's listening, if you have someone listening, you're talking to them right now, we need to recruit more change makers like yourself, more people putting themselves out there to make a difference for this change that we all see, that we know and we need. What would you say to them? How should someone answer the call? And why should they answer the call to help others?
I would say be the change that you want to see. Meaning that don't wait for somebody else to do what you think that they're supposed to do. If you see something that you need to do, that you could be positive and that you could be effective and you could be that person to create that ripple effect to try to change something, then get out of the ditch and go to the front lines and start figuring out your purpose. Life without purpose is dead. You know what I'm saying? And expecting other people to fight your battles is not it. You know what I'm saying? So if you see something that you could do to help someone else out and expect nothing in return, then do it. You know what I'm saying? And then you'll start to see who you really are and what you're really about.
Yeah. Beautiful. And I would also go on to say that you will see your life change for the better by helping others. Right?
Yes. My life has changed so much by looking at these folks and looking at society and looking at what's going on in this world. And at least I'm doing something to try to bring a change. I'm not sitting back waiting for somebody else to change it for me. And change is hard. Change is not easy, but you have to stick with it and be persistent and have diligence and have a focus and move towards it.
Yeah. And have no doubt that, like you said earlier, that stone that you throw into the water may be one stone, but it's that ripple effect that your movement is absolutely helping someone else, and to not give up, just do it. Well, Antonio, thank you. Where can I'm going to get some love to you. Where can we donate? Where can people still buy art? Where can we find you? Go on and advertise it all. Let's hear it.
Well, like how you stated in the beginning, The name of the project is Art from the Inside, mn.org. We're in Minnesota. If you go to the website, there's a donation location where you could graciously donate some money to help this process with what I'm doing, helping incarcerated people. I help them while they're in prison, and I help them when they're outside of the prison walls, trying to help them with art supplies and try to give them avenues for them to try to find work and housing. And that's what I've been doing.
Do you accept donations of art supplies? So if someone does have that, can they donate to you new art supplies?
Well, yes, because we could use that art supplies on the outside. Anything that is supposed to go into the institution, then we would need money so that they could purchase whatever they need inside through their catalogs and everything else.
Understand. And is there art still for sale on artfromtheinside.org?
Yes, we have some pieces still for sale. And it's funny that, this time around, it has a lot of Jesus in it. It has a lot of heart in it. It's very interesting to look at. And I hope people take the opportunity and time to check it out.
Yes, please do. Please go take a look at the amazing art and also click on it. Click on the art, and then you're going to see the story of the artist and what inspired them and the changes that they've gone through.
There's also a documentary, 30-minute documentary there that you could watch, and you could see some of the artists and see me through this process. So check it out.
Absolutely. Art from the Inside, mn.org. Well, Antonio, thank you so much. And thank you for being the change. It's been a pleasure to have you on today.
Thank you for having me on, Christine.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation and are inspired. We grow with supporters and listeners like you. So please share this podcast with your community and follow us on Instagram at bethechange.nyc. And to learn more about our guests and what you can do to be the change, go to our website at www.bethechange.nyc. That's bethechange.nyc. Thank you and be well.